It's time for your Low Country real estate market update. It's the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. Brian is one of the top 1% real estate agents in Charleston. Find him online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Or call him at 843-345-1273. Now, broadcasting from the WTMA studios, here's your host, Brian Beatty.
Good morning, Charleston. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. Thanks for joining me this morning. I am your host, Brian Beatty. And if this is your first time tuning in, we talk all things real estate here on this program. Residential real estate is what we focus on this show. So if it's your first time tuning in, what we do here is we focus on national, regional, local news. We apply that to you, the local homeowner or home buyer here in the Low Country, so that if you're thinking about making a move in real estate, you've got some quality data, you've got some information on market trends, and we can make some informed decisions together. So that's the goal of this show. If at any point in time you'd like to discuss your goals with me, please do so by either going to my website, listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. And on that website, you can take a look at everything I have for sale, view everything I've sold, take a look at some testimonials from past clients, search every home for sale in the MLS. And if you're thinking about selling your house, I'm going to talk about that a lot this program. If you're thinking about selling your house, click on the Sell Your Home tab. You can learn more about what I do to market my properties for sale. And you can also learn more about my 59-day home sale guarantee, which very simply states I will sell your home in 59 days or less, or I'll sell it for half my commission. So the website for that, listingsincharleston.com, or call me directly at 843-345-1273. So let me tell you what I have planned for this next hour. And I got to tell you first that it doesn't seem like our market missed a beat in the holiday months. I got to tell you that I am just busy. I am loving the activity in our market right now. It's very, very exciting. I think it's going to be another fantastic year in real estate. We talk a lot about whether or not prices are going to continue to skyrocket, what's going to happen with interest rates. There's all this uncertainty in our market. But what I can tell you, based on my perception of our market, based on my experience as someone that sold about 100 homes last year, is that I think we're in line for another fantastic year in real estate. I expect prices to go up. I expect inventory to kind of return to normalcy in some areas of our market. I expect interest rates to remain fairly low, is certainly low considering historical averages. Just another great year for real estate. I'm really excited about the activity going on right now. But here's what I want to talk about this hour. I want to talk first about for sale by owners. A lot of people that I'm talking to right now have said that they're going to try and sell their house on their own. So I thought it would be nice to give you some tips if you're considering selling your home on your own. I want to be able to deliver some value to you and maybe help you think of some things that you might not have thought about if you're considering selling your home for sale by owner. So we're going to talk about that first. A little bit later on in the program, we have something that comes out every year right around this time of year, and it's done by Remodeling Magazine. It's the cost versus value report for remodeling projects. So I'm going to talk in length about different projects that you can do around the house, what's going to make you money, what's going to cost you money. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about negotiating contracts, and we're also going to talk about the closing process, what to watch out for, how to plan for it, how to make sure we're not putting ourselves in potentially precarious situations. So that's what we've got planned for the next hour. If you'd like to reach out to me, again, 843-345-1273. That's my cell phone, and my website, listingsincharleston.com. So it's, still the first month of the year, and a lot of the people that I'm talking to, especially those that previously had their home on the market with a different real estate agent, are saying, we really aren't seeing the value in real estate agents. We think we're going to try it on our own. In fact, if we decide to sell on our own, then that actually allows us to list the property for a lower amount because we're saving the commission, and we can pass that savings on to the buyer and hopefully get a deal done on our house. And there's a lot that I can say about that, but I'm going to just give you some helpful information first, and then some of my opinions along the way. So let's just talk about the process of putting your home on the market as a for sale by owner. Let's talk first about marketing. It's something I focus a lot on. It's something that I think is a very clear differentiator between me and most real estate agents in our market. I hope that for those of you that listen on a consistent basis, or for those of you that have called me after listening to the show and I've sold your home, that you would agree. But let's talk first just about pictures. Pictures are something that, in my mind, are incredibly important. When people see your home online, which is where 90-something% of people start their search for a home, and it's where the majority of people find the home that they are going to buy, pictures are incredibly important. If you're going to be a for sale by owner, what's the number one reason why people are for sale by owner? It's to save the commission. And it's not even so much to save the commission, it's just to save money, right? So if you're a seller, if you don't spend some money, if you don't do some things to create exposure for your home, then do not expect a high volume of activity. You've got to be able to put your home out there so that people can see it. And when people see it, the first thing that they're going to judge your home off of are the pictures that they scroll through. So in my mind, if I'm a for sale by owner and I'm thinking about saving myself potentially 6% commission, and that's my mindset, I'm not going to have a problem with hiring a professional photographer and paying them a few $100s to take some really nice, clean, crisp, wide-angle photos of my house and of the surrounding area. I think it's incredibly important. And if you're a for sale by owner, don't skimp on that. If I see a house with pictures from a camera phone, I got to tell you, it's kind of ridiculous. You're selling one of the most expensive things that you own and you're taking pictures with your iPhone. It's just silly. Number 2, utilize all free websites like Craigslist and any other website out there that you can post your home for sale on, whether it be Facebook, Twitter, social media, whatever the case might be. Maybe you even create a website for yourself so that you can start creating some exposure for your home. You've got to get your home out there. Number 3, you've got to put a sign in the yard. Obviously, I would hope that anybody selling their house puts a sign in the yard. Number 4, I believe in this, and I do not pay money to advertise my properties in newspapers. I just don't think that they work like they used to. It's not where the buyers are. Those that are looking in the newspaper are also going to go online. It's kind of like, in my mind, a bit of a teaser. If someone sees a property in a newspaper, they're just going to go online and they're going to search for that property. And then they're going to look at everything else in that price range as well. So the bottom line is they're online. I don't see the need to pay for newspaper advertising, and I don't think that a for sale by owner should either. Something else that's incredibly important, make sure that you have a very clear understanding of the documentation that you're going to need and the disclosures that you're going to have to fill out when you show your home to an interested buyer. Anybody that's selling a home in the state of South Carolina in which they have lived in that property or they have direct knowledge of the condition of the home have to fill out something called a property condition disclosure statement. And that property condition disclosure statement is a long check. It's a 5-page document, and it's designed to cover your you-know-what, so that in the event the buyer goes and buys your home and you didn't disclose some material defect, that's what that document saves you from. It's just disclosing those issues to the buyer. It's incredibly important. And when I call for sale by owners, let's say I'm representing a buyer, and I see a for sale by owner and it might fit their needs, and I ask them, hey, can you send me your disclosure statements? What is that? Oh gosh. Okay, let me help you. Here's the document. Here's how you fill it out. Blah, blah, blah. If you're not going to hire a real estate agent, I think it might be important for you because this is a very important transaction and it's potentially very costly to you if you make mistakes. If you're not going to hire a real estate agent, I think you should call a real estate attorney. I really do. I think that you should call a real estate attorney and have them explain the process to you, even if they have to charge you a few hours for their time. That money, in my opinion, would be well worth it because it's going to save you from the liabilities associated with selling a property, and it's going to help you understand what you need to do in order to protect yourself. One other thing I'll say. If you're a for sale by owner, I think it's incredibly important for you to offer a buyer agent 3% commission. And here's why. 85 to 90% of buyers, all buyers, are represented by real estate agents. If you don't offer a buyer agent a commission, there is absolutely no incentive for that buyer agent to inform their client about your house. Now, sometimes buyers will pay commissions to buyer agents to help them find properties like for sale by owners, but it's incredibly important for you to understand that if a buyer agent isn't going to receive a commission from you, they have zero incentive to show your home. So don't shoot yourself in the foot by taking commission off the table. In my mind, I think it's incredibly important for you to offer a 3% commission to a buyer agent. Last thing I'm going to say is pricing, because pricing is incredibly important. Let me just make this short and sweet. Don't just trust the Zillow estimate on your home. Please don't trust the Zillow estimate on your home. Please either call some real estate agents and be straightforward with them and say, hey, you know what? I'm thinking about selling my home on my own, but I'd like to know what it's worth. Will you give me your opinion of value? And if I don't sell it in a few months, then I'll consider hiring you as my listing agent. I don't think there are many real estate agents out there that would say, no, sorry, not interested. Get some real estate agents to give you an opinion on the value of your home, or in the rare event that you can't find real estate agents that are going to tell you what they think your home is worth and what they can sell it for, because it's going to be an opportunity for them to sell your home. Of course, real estate agents are going to capitalize on that. If you can't find someone to do it for you, then just hire an appraiser. Having an appraisal in hand and pricing your home based on that appraisal is going to hold a heck of a lot more weight than if you just said, well, I went on Zillow and they say it's worth $480,000. So I'm asking $480,000. I don't have time to get into how Zillow comes up with the estimates for your home. That's a completely different segment. It's something I've talked about ad nauseum, but it's really important because, and it's on the website. Just go to Zillow. Look at how they come up with the Zillow estimate on your house. So pricing is incredibly important. And I think that if you're upfront and honest with real estate agents about your intentions, that they will help you. So those are just some tips. If you're considering selling your home for sale by owner, if you are thinking about selling, or if you have your home on the market as a for sale by owner right now, I would like for you to go to my website and let me know that you have your home for sale by owner, because they're not on the MLS most of the time. And we as agents need to have a very clear understanding of the inventory available to our buyer clients. So if you have a for sale by owner, please go to my website. We might have a buyer for you. Input your contact info. That website address is listingsincharleston.com, or call me at 843-345-1273. When we come back, we're going to talk about this remodeling report from Remodeling Magazine on the value associated with doing big projects at your house. You don't want to miss this, so stick around. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA.
Visit Brian Beatty's website at listingsincharleston.com. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues next on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. Now, the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues on Charleston's Big Talker 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back, Charleston. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. Thanks again for joining me this morning. We were talking about, before we left, we were talking about for sale by owners and the process associated with selling your home on your own. And I gave you some tips that I think are important for you to take into account when putting your house on the market. It's a very big deal to sell a house. There's a lot that goes into it. And if I can help you through that process, or if you're considering hiring a real estate agent to help you through that process, then I invite you to give me a call. My number is 843-345-1273, or you can go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. And while you're there, you can take a look at everything for sale in the MLS by all real estate agents and all real estate companies. You can take a look at all of my listings, all of my past sales. And if you click on the Sell Your Home tab, you can learn more about my 59-day home sale guarantee, which very simply states that I will sell your home in 59 days or less, or I'll sell it for half my commission. So go to that website, listingsincharleston.com, and contact me that way. So this was one of my favorite segments of last year. It's what I got a very large response from. And what it is the cost versus value report that Remodeling Magazine puts out right at the beginning of every year. And it discusses really compares the changes in job costs with realtors' perceptions of what those jobs bring to a home's resale value. And it's a very, very interesting report. You know, as realtors, we're trusted advisors to sellers when it comes to repairing and remodeling a home and preparing it to put it on the market to sale. And my goal when I walk through a house is to make sure that we focus really more so on repairs rather than remodeling. I think there's a time and a place for remodeling, but when I walk through a house, I look at it through the eyes of a buyer. And I ask myself, if I was a buyer, what would I bring up as items of concern when making an offer on that property to justify a lower contract amount? After all, when I represent a buyer, that's what we do. It's no big surprise. We walk through the house, we look at everything that's right and everything that's wrong with it. And my style is maybe a little bit different than some real estate agents. I kind of just let the buyer walk through the house and I say, hey, you don't need me to show you what a kitchen looks like. You know what a kitchen looks like. You don't need me to show you what a master bedroom looks like. You know what that is. I'm going to just let you guys walk around, make yourselves comfortable. I'm going to walk around. I'm going to look for some issues that I think might be of concern. And at the end, we reconvene and we discuss what they like, what they don't like. And then I say, all right, well, here are some things that if we chose to make an offer on this house, that we might be able to bring up and use to try and get this cost down a little bit. And that's really important. So my goal as a listing agent, someone representing the seller, is to make the home as marketable as possible and to safeguard the process of selling the home from pitfalls that might occur. Interestingly, just in the first few weeks of this year, and the people that I spoke with in December, I met with 3 different people that said, Brian, what do we need to do to this house to prepare it for sale? And each of the 3 sellers had varying levels of things that they needed to do. Some, it was just, hey, we need to get this yard tightened up a little bit. Let's work a little bit on some staging on the inside of the house. I think it would be beneficial if you painted this bathroom. A dark brown color on a bathroom is not too appealing to people. You want to try and brighten that up a little bit. Well, that was one example. The other example was something a little more extreme. It was, hey, I need you to paint this kitchen because this kitchen is dark. It's beautiful. You've put custom cabinets in here. I mean, a really high-end kitchen, but it's a really dark color. Let's brighten it up. Let's put a backsplash on there because it's missing that. And I think if you did that, it would really make this kitchen pop. And then the other thing is that when you walk into your backyard, you've got this kind of old metal chain link fence and this beautifully remodeled home. I think we should put a 6-foot privacy fence around so that you're blocking your view of the other homes in the area and you're creating some privacy. Anyways, and not to get into the huge details of all these different homeowners and what we did, but the bottom line is we did those things. The cost was not too prohibitive. And each of those 3 sellers sold their home in a week or less this year in January. And they had 2 of them had previously been on the market for months and months and months. And so it's really nice when I walk through a home and we talk with the seller about what do I need to do to create some exposure, momentum here. We had it on the market. Things weren't working. What do I need to do? And we need to differentiate between repairs and remodeling for resale and then remodeling for personal enjoyment. So again, if we're talking about repairs, or let's say that we're talking about replacement windows. Here's a good example, replacement windows. Okay, so in 2014, homeowners recouped about 73% of the cost of installing replacement windows. So in other words, let me just say that again. If the return on that investment equaled out, so in other words, you paid $20,000 for windows and that brings up your property value $20,000, and that would be 100% recoup value, right? Well, it's 73%. So let's say that I'm walking through a house and we're talking with a seller and they say, hey, Brian, do we need to replace these windows? They're old. A lot of them are kind of fogged. The seals have been compromised. It looks like they need to be replaced. Well, what's the option here? We either don't do anything and the buyer looks at that and they say, hey, you know what? We need all these windows replaced. So we need to take that into account in our offer. And if it costs $20,000, then we're going to want $20,000 off the contract amount. That's what the buyers try to do, at least. Obviously, you try and negotiate there, but would you rather have a buyer say, hey, this is going to cost me $20,000, so I want you to give me $20,000? Or would you rather spend the $20,000 and get back 75% of that and have that be a non-issue? It's up to you. But the point here is that when I walk through a home, the smaller the project that we can do, the better. The smaller projects are the ones that return the highest return on investment. Interestingly, if you look at this report from Remodeling Magazine, the only project, and this is, I think it's kind of weird, but it is what it is. I mean, they monitored 4,000 remodeling projects in 102 markets throughout the nation over the course of a year from the time they picked up the hammer and started work until the time the home sold. And only one project was a profitable project. Can you guess what that is? I bet you can't. It's the replacement door on the front of your house. Isn't that weird? The only project that you profit from based on this elaborate report, this very trustworthy report, is replacing your front door. It's 112%. Interestingly, on average, when we look at the 3 or 4 dozen remodeling project types that they monitored, on average, the cost to value ratio was just a little over 62%. Only 62%. Now, you look at some of the bigger projects that people do, and they say, all right, well, I'm going to add a sunroom to the house. We're going to increase the home's square footage, and that should certainly add value. Well, here, get this. Adding a sunroom, based on this report in 2014, and let me just add a quick caveat to this. Every remodeling project, every repair that you make on a house and the value associated with that, in my opinion, is subject to the price range you're in, the area that you're in, the neighborhood you're in. It's all individual home specific. So don't put all your eggs in one basket with regard to this report. If you're thinking about doing a remodeling project, call me and I'll tell you what homes are selling for based on what you're thinking about doing. So if you're thinking about adding a sunroom, let's look at comps with sunrooms and I can tell you what they're selling for. And if the cost to add a sunroom is $30,000, but it only returns $15,000, then that's probably not worth it to do if we're just going to sell it. And so that it takes me to this statistic in this report that says that if you add a sunroom, you only get back 53% of that project cost. It's astounding to me, but it is what it is. I mean, the numbers don't lie. If we look at some of the other things that actually do a really good job of recouping the investment, adding a deck was 83%, and adding a new replacement garage door got you 92% of that project cost back. The only thing that, again, was profitable based on this report was an entry door. Now, having said that, like I mentioned, all of these projects are area specific. If you live in a $1 million home and your kitchen has the cheapest of the cheap cabinets, I think it makes sense to potentially renovate your kitchen to have that kitchen be more in line with what buyers are going to expect when they walk through $1 million homes. On the flip side of that, it does not make sense if you own a $100,000 house to do a $30,000 kitchen remodel, right? Let's use some common sense here. So if you're thinking about doing anything to your house for the purpose of selling it, then please call me. I really want to help you with this because I don't want to see people waste money or lose money because they think that this project is going to create some sort of massive return on investment for them. So contact me through my website, listingsincharleston.com. I'm going to post this report and a link to it on my website, listingsincharleston.com. And the really cool thing about this is that you can look at national numbers. You can look at regional numbers. They even tracked projects in Charleston, South Carolina. So you can look at, in our area, what happened. Really, really cool stuff. Website, listingsincharleston.com, or call me, 843-345-1273. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show.
Hear the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show every Saturday morning at 8 on 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com.
The Big Talker, WTMA.
Expert news and views on the Lowcountry real estate scene. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back, Charleston. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. Thanks for joining me. This is the time in the show where I always just like to say thank you for tuning in and for allowing me the opportunity to share with you what I'm passionate about, which is selling real estate, helping people buy a home, sell a home, invest in a home. I'm just thankful. I love my job, and I think that there are not a lot of people out there that can say that with 100% confidence, and I can. And so I just want to say thank you for entrusting me with your real estate needs. And if there's anything that I can do for you, if you're thinking about buying, selling, investing in real estate, or you just have some general knowledge questions, similar to what we just talked about last segment about remodeling your home, I want to be of value to you. I want to help you through whatever it is I can real estate related. So the best way to contact me is one of two ways. Through my website, listingsincharleston.com. And on that website, you can look at everything I have for sale. You can look at everything I've sold, search the MLS. And if you're thinking about selling your house, click on the Sell Your Home tab. You can learn more about my 59-day home sale guarantee at 4.5% commission. Essentially, I will sell your home in less than 2 months, or I'll sell it for half my commission. So listingsincharleston.com is the website for that, or give me a call. I can be reached at 843-345-1273. What we're going to talk about now is one of the things in this business that just gets me the most fired up. And I'm going to try and keep my cool, but we're going to talk about negotiating contracts. And I was watching Shark Tank a little while ago, and Mark Cuban said something that I loved. And I think it's incredibly applicable to real estate. And he said, when you enter the Shark Tank, you look for the sucker. And if you can't find the sucker, then the sucker is you. Doesn't that make you just want to get out there and go negotiate something? Doesn't that just get you fired up? I hope it does. You can't negotiate everything. You can't go to the gas station and walk up to the clerk and say, give me a full tank of gas. I'll give you $20, $25, final offer. It doesn't work that way. But when it comes to negotiating real estate, it is a very emotional process, because it's when really on both sides, we are very, very close to making a deal. We've got a buyer that's found a house that they love enough to make an offer to purchase it, and the seller, who has spent all this time marketing the property and putting in the effort and the time to make sure that it's appealing to buyers and they're keeping their home clean. And now here we are, we have a buyer that's stepped up and they say, hey, I want to buy your house as long as we can make a deal. And it's fantastic when things work out and when both parties feel like, and this is really, I think, when deals are at its best, is when both sides of the transaction feel like they're giving just a little bit more than they probably should be. Those are when the deals really are kind of fair, 50-50 down the middle. Now, when I represent clients, don't get me wrong, we're in it to win it. I'm here to get you the best deal possible. And when you negotiate as many contracts as I have, hundreds of them, over $150 million in contract representation, you learn a thing or two. And one of the things that I have learned over time is how, frankly, irresponsible real estate agents can be in divulging information about their client that I then get to use against them, or at least broadens my awareness of why they're making the offer they're making or why they're in the position they're in. As an example, let's say that I represent a buyer. And I go to the listing agent and I say, hey, we really like the house. We're thinking about making an offer. I know it's been on the market for 90 days and we're just, we can't really agree on your asking price. How flexible is your seller in reducing the price? And you'd be surprised at how many listing agents say, well, we were just talking about a price reduction. We were going to drop it 10 grand. He's motivated to sell, so bring us an offer. I mean, automatically, boom, 10 grand off the contract. We're never paying you, $10,000 in return for buying this property. And we already know that the seller mentally has taken $10,000 off the price. Or you ask this open-ended question like, why are the sellers selling? I mean, it's a great house. Why are they selling? Oh, well, they've accepted a job in Atlanta and, they're moving there in the next 30 days. Well, obviously, from my perspective as a buyer agent, I already know that they've taken a job offer. They're paying 2 housing payments, either in the form of mortgages or rent. And at some point, they're going to become extremely motivated to sell because of the cost associated with having 2 properties. Well, boom, automatically, I get to use that in negotiating my contract. So it's just incredible to me that the real estate agents are so willing to compromise their clients' confidentiality in order to get a deal done. Perfect example. A few months ago, I was negotiating a contract with a buyer that I represented. We made an offer, and I was going back and forth via email with this agent. It got to the point where it was like 11 o'clock at night, and we sent in our final offer, written contract, and the listing agent replies with, "We'll accept. I'll get you the signed contract tomorrow." Well, tomorrow rolls around, and he calls me and he says, "Hey, Brian, we have a bit of an issue." All right, well, what's that? I spoke a little bit out of turn. The seller actually wants to counter at $10,000 more. I think that he can do $5,000 more, but here's the deal. I said that we were going to accept this offer, so I'm kind of in a precarious situation. Would you be willing to split the difference with me? I'm willing to reduce my commission. Would you be willing to reduce your commission in order to get this deal done? Absolutely not. Are you kidding me? That's crazy. To speak for your client without talking to them about an offer, accept on their behalf, and then have the audacity to call me and say, "Will you reduce your commission?" in order to save face with their client. And that's kind of an extreme example, but I'm just telling you, folks, that it's really, really challenging when you sit down with a real estate agent to have a clear understanding of how they are going to represent you when it matters. When you're making an offer on a property, or when you receive an offer on the property, how good is that real estate agent really going to be? Are they going to demonstrate their value through protecting you and your best interest to get you the best deal possible? It's really important, and it's important that you ask questions designed to get those real estate agents to give you examples of what they've done for people. And I don't think it's unfair for you to ask for some references. God forbid somebody, says, "Hey, I want to hire you, but I want to talk to a few people first." If a real estate agent said, "No, I'm not comfortable giving out anybody's contact information," boom, red flag. What do you have to hide? Now, I'm not, that's not really the industry standard to say, "Hey, give me a list of 10 references," but I'm happy to give you references because I'm confident with my ability to represent my clients and protect them and get them the best deal possible. So let me just give you 10 quick tips when negotiating contracts. Then we're going to take another break and we're going to talk about the closing process. Once we reach a deal, what happens next? So number 1, be friendly, but do not be their friend. It goes back to the conversations that real estate agents have behind their clients' back about their motivation to sell and how much will they take off the price and so on and so forth. I'm not here to chat. I'm here to get a deal done. Make me an offer. I'm not really interested in telling you my seller's or my buyer's life story so that you can use that against me. All right. Number 2, you have to know the market. There really is no excuse for a real estate agent not having a very firm understanding of the market and of the value of that house so that they can properly counsel their client. Number 3, you have to have a contract that's bulletproof, and you have to clearly outline your intentions and what will happen if those intentions are not met contractually. Right? Number 4, you have to present the offer and justify your position. So many agents just shoot emails with offers, say, "Hey, here's an offer, confirm receipt." Isn't it better to present the offer and explain why you're offering what you're offering? I think so. Number 5, you have to have realistic expectations. Far gone are the days where you can offer 40% below on a listing and get a response out of a seller. They're going to throw it in the trash. Number 6, don't push people too far. At some point, people will break and they'll say, "You know what, screw it, I'm out of here. I don't care. I don't care if I sell it to this buyer or not." And I've seen deals almost blow up over something as simple, and I'm not kidding, something as simple as like a wax ring replacement on a toilet. The buyer just had enough. He was willing to walk away. It's my job to make sure that we don't get to that point. Number 7, you have to communicate on a regular basis. That's just self-explanatory. Number 8, don't let your emotions get the best of you. Be the bigger person if the other side of the transaction is being unreasonable. Number 10, rely on your professional to counsel you. That's what they're there for. And number 10, always have a backup plan. So just 10 quick tips when negotiating contracts from me, someone that's done this several hundred times. If you're thinking about buying, selling, or investing in real estate and you want to hire me, or you want to just have a discussion about real estate in general, give me a call. 843-345-1273 is my cell phone, or go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. Stick around. We'll be right back.
More stimulating talk on real estate matters with Brian Beatty next on 1250 WTMA. WTMA. Now, here's more of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back, Charleston, as the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA. Thanks again for joining me this morning. We were just talking about contract negotiations, and I have to admit, I said right at the beginning of that segment that I was going to try not to get too fired up, and it happened. But what can I say? I'm passionate about it, and frankly, it's one of the most fun parts of this job is getting the deal done, helping a seller sell their house for more money maybe than they would have gotten if they hired another real estate agent. Same thing goes with a buyer. It's really awesome, frankly, as a real estate agent. When you put a plan in place, it works, and the seller or the buyer or whomever you represent is happy. They accomplished their goals, and it was a smooth and successful transaction. That's what I'm all about. If I can help you with anything real estate related, please give me a call, 843-345-1273. That's my cell phone. Call or text that number, 843-345-1273, or go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. On that website, you can take a look at everything I have for sale, everything I've sold, learn more about me, learn more about my 59-day home sale guarantee at 4.5% commission by clicking on the Sell Your Home tab. So let's get into the final portion of this show, because last time last few minutes we were talking about negotiating contracts. So let's say now that we've reached an agreement between a buyer and a seller. We have what's called a ratified contract. Let's discuss the closing process, and let's discuss it on behalf of the buyer and on behalf of the seller. Usually, when properties go under contract, the contract has contingencies that must be fulfilled along the way from the time the contract is ratified until the time you go to the closing table with the attorney, sign your documents, and you own the home, you sell the home. So what are those contingencies? Well, number one, the most common is a home inspection. Very, very, very rarely do you see contracts that do not have a home inspection contingency. If I represent a buyer, unless we're getting a house for such a ridiculous value, I'm talking like 50% off, then we're going to get a home inspection. I think it's incredibly important. I've bought and sold several properties personally, and the one time that I didn't do a home inspection, it came back to bite me. And I should have listened to my own counsel and gotten one. But you know what? It was a bank-owned deal. I was getting it for a great price. And even though I got dinged on some things that I didn't know were issues with that house, I still came out ahead. But contingencies to the contract, the home inspection is the most common. And let me tell you what I see on almost every single contract, which just, God, it frustrates me. The contract, in and of itself, very clearly defines the role of the buyer and the seller when it comes to a home inspection. They have a certain amount of time to inspect the home. Once it is inspected, they produce a document called a repair addendum to the seller. The seller then has a specified amount of time to respond to that repair addendum. And one of three things can happen. The buyer can choose to purchase the home as is, and the seller can say, I'm not doing any repairs. You can negotiate negotiate repairs. You're going to do some, not all of them, or I'm going to give you a credit at closing. Or they're going to say, you know what? There are too many issues for me. We are going to walk away from the transaction. That's what the contract says. But real estate agents have this bad habit of putting at the back of the contract under the open-ended contingencies section, says something like this: contingent upon buyer's sole satisfaction with the results of the home inspection. Period. That's it. So in other words, they've created this language that's totally open-ended, that totally disregards the contract language that's in there that's approved by the state of South Carolina. And here's what it means. Let's say I represent a seller, and that happens. Someone makes an offer, and I allow that contingency to remain in place. So let's say that the buyer had 10 days to do an inspection. Well, they do an inspection, and let's say 10 days after that, they say, you know what, we're not satisfied with the condition of the home. We're gonna back out of the agreement because the agreement says that it's contingent upon our satisfaction with the results of the home inspection. The point I'm trying to make is that when you put open-ended language in contracts, it contradicts the very clear, understanding of what the contract in and of itself already has. So if, and it's incredibly important that you understand this stuff as a buyer and a seller, because you're relying on your real estate agent to protect you. And if I see a buyer agent send me a contract with open-ended language in it, you know what that language says to me? Hey, guess what? If any point in time I want to get out of the contract, I can. That's not acceptable to me. And it's important that when you hire a real estate agent, that agent has that level of understanding and that level of experience, because you're hiring them to protect you. So that's my little spiel on home inspections. Anytime somebody makes an offer on real estate and they're getting a mortgage, it's obviously contingent upon financing, which brings me to point number 2. The contract states that the financing contingency shall survive until the date of closing. It also states that the buyer has a certain amount of time to apply for a loan and a certain amount of time to receive loan approval. So you've got this like 3-part thing to this financing contingency to contracts. It says, all right, we're under contract. You have 5 days to apply for a loan. 15 days after that, you have to produce loan approval. But at the same time, the contract says that it's contingent upon financing and that survives up until the date of closing. So then what's the point of having deadlines in the contract to produce, something that says, hey, I have loan approval, when if at any point in time the buyer doesn't get financing, they can just get their earnest money back and walk away. These are the kinds of things that we really have to watch for, because again, nobody wants to put their house under contract and go through an inspection and make repairs and get an appraisal done and go through all of these steps in the process, go find another home to move into, and then 2 days before closing find out, oh, you know what, I'm sorry, I can't get a loan. They denied me for financing. And because this contract says that the financing contingency survives closing, here's a release of contract, please give me my earnest money back. It really frustrates me, if you can't tell that, by the way. So it's my job when writing contracts, when receiving contracts, when reviewing contracts with my clients, to go through those bullet points and say, okay, this is what could happen if this contingency isn't met. This is some language that they've added that I don't agree with. I think we need to strike this from the contract, because here's what happens in the event we let this language stay. So there's all these little contingencies to the contract. And on the seller side, you have to be vigilant of what the contracts are saying and what language is being added, again, so you can protect yourself. Now, the same thing goes for buyer. On the totally opposite end of things, if a buyer makes an offer on a property, it would probably make sense that you have some sort of open-ended language in that contract that allows them to get out of the contract, right? So it depends on who you're representing. At the end of the day, my job as a real estate agent is to represent my client to the best of my ability, get them the best job possible, or get the best deal possible, close as smoothly as possible, make sure that we're keeping an eye on potential pitfalls and accounting for that, and just making sure that they're happy with their decision. And so that's some bits and pieces of the closing process. And then the last thing that I'll say is that when an offer is made on a property and it's signed by both parties, there's a closing date on there, right? Let's say that we ratify an offer today on a property and the closing date is March 1st. Well, that date is a realistic date that, based on whatever they need to do, whether they need to get a mortgage or they need to sell their house or they need to get cash out of the bank, that's a realistic date that we can assume will be met by both parties. But what happens if the buyer needs more time or if the seller needs more time? Those are the types of things that you really have to have a conversation with your agent about, because that's when things get really, really, really ugly. If a buyer is ready to go and they have loan approval, they're ready to close, and the seller hasn't moved out of the house yet, guess what? That's a problem. Or on the flip side, if the seller has moved out of the house because they're supposed to have a closing today, and the buyer informs us that, oh, you know what, we need another 2 weeks for financing, that's a problem too. So you just need to have that conversation with your agent, not just when you list the house, but when an offer is presented and when you're going through that closing process. And again, always have a backup plan. So I hope this information is helpful to you. If you're thinking about buying, selling, or investing in real estate, feel free to give me a call, 843-345-1273, or go to my website, listingsincharleston.com, and have a great weekend. Thanks for tuning in.
Join us for another edition of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show next Saturday morning from 8 till 9. Contact Brian Beatty online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Or call him at 843-345-1273. 843-345-1273.